Back with another edition of Backroads and Backstories, where we talk with country music's power players. And man, I'm so excited to be able to welcome to the show today. This guy should be a professional athlete, but really made the right choice to be able to go in country music. Josh Ross, man, thank you for coming by the show today.
Thank you. I mean, I wished I could be. I wish that the athlete thing I feel like now is so far away. I'm like, God, did I really think I was gonna ever try to do that?
No, we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about your scholarship today on the podcast today. But one of the first things I got to start with your introduction almost to Nashville, and when you moved to Nashville, you show up, massive tornado going on, then you roll into COVID. So many people would have thrown in the towel and they'd have said, "This is like God telling me something," but you didn't. Like, what made you go on there?
Because I'm probably I guess I go against what probably most people do. I mean, it's interesting because I mean I started taking trips in 2018 to Nashville and was writing and started to learn what recording even meant and all those kinds of things. And then yeah, I was like full blown gonna like, okay, I'm gonna move to Nashville. It's done. And the night of the tornadoes, when I like kind of came down, unpacked my stuff, decided to go to an event called Whiskey Jam. Got home from that, and sirens were going off. I had a roommate at the time who worked in the industry, and I was like, "Is this normal?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. The sirens, they go off all the time." And the next thing you know, I'm like on Facebook, I think it was, and there was like live feeds of like parts of Nashville that were just completely destroyed. So really crazy, really scary time for a lot of people. Obviously, I was very lucky to be, a good distance from them in Nashville, and then felt like, yeah, that was the first punch, and then the next one was COVID. The whole COVID era started, and honestly, I was trying to ride it out as long as I could, and then it got to a point where, being from Ontario, Canada, they were like, you got to come back to Canada if you're, snowbird or somebody's in Florida or if you're traveling or whatever. So I had my parents on the phone being like, we already think you're crazy for moving to Nashville, and then now this is going on. So I mean, they were always very supportive, but it definitely was a time that I think we were all kind of like, whatever. And I remember I got the last, I had a car that was not the greatest car at the time. It was a Pontiac Vibe that was falling apart, and I got to be in it at the airport and I think it was like the second last or the last rental car out of the airport and drove home. And I packed a luggage for like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks worth of stuff, just thinking it would be like a super quick moment. And next thing of the month started rolling by, and Nashville kind of had opened back up before. I mean, Canada was like crazy lockdown. It was nuts. And yeah, I was like, I got to get back to Nashville. So I came back kind of in the middle of COVID, and again, once they went against what everybody was telling me was the safer, better option, and I'm glad I did. I think COVID for me, it was a good time because I got to like learn to actually play the guitar properly and practicing singing, practicing piano. The big acts like Luke Bryan and those people weren't playing, arenas and stadiums. They were on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and so was I. So it kind of made the playing field kind of a little more equal in some ways.
What would you tell a young artist who hits kind of a little bit of a headwind as they're getting into country music? Because that certainly wasn't an easy time for you. What learning experiences did you take from that that you would share with others?
Um, I think it's just like it's okay to do what people like say is probably not the best option. I guess like I really did everything during that time, and honestly, I was lucky that when that was all was going on, I was pretty hard headed about what I wanted to do in life, and it was basically like when people would say no, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Um, I've always been like that. I'm like one of those people that I've gotten a lot better at it as I've gotten older. When somebody says don't do that, I'm learning now that sometimes it does mean don't do that. But during that time, it was like take the risk, and I just remember thinking I was early 20s at the time, and I was like, I don't want to be 30, 40, 50 being like, gosh, I wish I would have just seen what I could have maybe have done, and what you know where things could be. So
It's like, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail, right?
I mean, I was already failing kind of in a certain way, like I had gotten college university degree that obviously I was proud of, but didn't really love it at all. I went to Western and college to play sports, really is why I went, and to socialize and party, and um, to get an expensive degree and then be like, I don't really know what I want to do with this. But yeah, like in a way, it was like I know either was gonna have to go back to school, which I did not want to do at all, or it was like take this risk and maybe I'm just gonna write songs, or maybe I'll end up being a producer, or maybe I'll end up being a manager. But I definitely love music, and I love writing songs, and I like being in front of people, and I love what music does to people, and I knew that meant something. I didn't know what it meant, I think, at the time. Um,
Who really stepped up during that time to help you from Nashville? You had like a mentor, someone who said, you know what, I'm here. You jump on my back. I want to be able to push you and teach you what I've learned.
yeah, I mean, I moved to Nashville. I, I really there's key people, and I wish I could find the time to like do one of those like maps of like I met this person, and led me to this person and these people.
It's like the degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, but I had got to town. Like I really only knew one person, a guy from Canada. His name was Aaron Goodvin. He had been releasing music. I think at the time he had just signed to like a record deal or some sort of thing in the US. And that was kind of like a short-lived time. We kind of did some music together, and it was a great learning experience for me overall. And but I really started going out. I was going to bars, and I met a guy named Zeb Luster, who's a manager over at River House, like Luke Combs and all those folks. And he really started to point me in the right direction about where to go and who to talk to. And then in the writing room was really where I started to make my friends. Mason Thornley, who was like my fourth write in town, was like the guy he'd be like, you got to go to this bar and go to this songwriting round and ask this person to play. And that's what I started to do. And I was playing little showcases for four people, and then sometimes it'd be 200 people. And it was all part of, I'm very grateful for, especially at that time, the scene in Nashville was still a little more localized in regards to, you know, you could walk into the bar like Red Door, and it was just songwriters and artists and stuff. And I feel like now it's more of like a tourist attraction, which is, great, but it's kind of lost that bumping into somebody. Like you'd purposely bump shoulders with somebody just to like introduce yourself, hoping that they were the next big songwriter. And that's kind of what it was. So.
Let's talk about that. So people from California go out to Nashville. They want to go visit. They go down to Broadway, most likely. Again, a lot of tourist traps down there. Where do you go if you want to be off the beaten path? Where would you tell people, hey, you want to see some really great country music? Where are you sending people?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much great music just on Broadway. And those guys are incredible, and they make an incredible living there. So that's always an experience if you're wanting to power drink and listen to music. I think that's your kind of move. But yeah, I mean, still the Midtown area, like some of the artist showcases and stuff. Scoreboard out by Opryland and stuff like that, and the traditional losers and Red Door, and then Riley's Duck Blind now is what used to be Winners, so there too. And yeah, there's still such good spots. It's just it's so much tourist now, which is great. It's just again a little harder, like if you're somebody that's trying to meet local people.
Well, and you show up in town and you're passionate about everybody from like Steve Earle to Akon, which by the way, love the song with Akon. I mean, how did that come about? I mean, that was a wild collab for me to listen to. I'm like, oh, this is fire right here. This is good.
I mean, so it's so interesting because I like Steve Earle was my like when I was a kid, I thought country music was Steve Earle and like Steve Earle only. I had his CDs through like a family friend that was like basically like my uncle, and his music, and I thought like Steve Earle was his own genre, like to me at the time. And uh, so that's all I knew of country music really until I got into like my teens, and I started to figure out, you know, burning CDs and streaming stuff and all, iTunes and all that stuff. And then I would listen to other stuff. But my brother and sister, they were big into like going to the club and all that kind of stuff. And it was like Akon and rap music and all that kind of stuff. And I knew all of Akon songs probably at the age of like 6, which is like which is so not probably okay, but I knew them all, and his melodies for me were always like so good. And I always joked around that like someday I was gonna rewrite one of his songs. I never really like said I would do a song with him. And it's funny, I did an interview yesterday at a place that about 4 years ago I did an interview there, and they asked me to cover an Akon song, and I like whipped the guitar out and I played Right Now, which was funny coincidentally because that's a song I rewrote and called it Drunk Right Now. But yeah, just I showed up to a writing room in Nashville, I don't know, a year and a half ago now. And I was super hungover. And I honestly just did not feel like my brain capacity that day was not willing to like write a full, 2, 3, 4 hour song, start from scratch. And I said to the guys, I have this idea um, called Drunk Right Now. It's a rip off of, a compilation of Akon's Right Now. And let's just make a fun summertime like anthem. And yeah, we wrote that honestly probably like 30, 40 minutes. I had demoed it out, was going to start like doing the typical like teasing, posting on social media, see what people think of it. And then I asked my day-to-day Kenzie, I was like, is there any way like we can send this to him, like just to see what he thinks? Uh, and Simon, through who's like one of the owners of the core at my management company and Part Record stuff, he had known a connection that kind of knew his manager, so we sent it, not knowing what would happen, and they replied and was like, Akon wants to be on this, and I was like,
Wow.
super super cool, just for like childhood 6-year-old me singing like "Smack That," which is like not, which is like not okay, not okay, but
Awesome.
like I was like, this is.
Oh, your parents are really proud that 6-year-old you was singing "Smack That."
I remember like my dad being like, turn that off. Like, you can't be listening to this. It's like me doing these like rap verses when I was like a little kid. But because my dad also is like a huge like rock and metal, hair metal fan. So like he was never about the pop club stuff at all.
He's like Sebastian Bach. Come on.
Yeah. So there's a lot of dynamics in my house growing up, but that was one. But that yeah. So basically, he said he wanted to be on it. I was like, okay, what does that even mean? Like in the pop world is very different. Like they just kind of like, yeah, yeah, I'm into it. It's like, okay, does that mean you like are gonna sing a chorus, do ad libs? Like, what does that mean? And then I think it was like 2, 3 weeks later, I got a text, and it said like right now or drunk right now V2 version 2, and I was like, what is this? And I'm listening to it, and it's like the same that I sent to him. And then all of a sudden, I get to the second verse, and they like cut my verse out that I had wrote, and he wrote his whole own verse, which was like super super cool. And I had wrote it just as like, I want to get drunk right now. Let's go out and party. That was it. And he kind of turned it into like, hey buddy, I know you're feeling down, but like it's gonna be okay. You don't need to be like this. Like kind of put more of a storyline to it, which I thought was really really cool. Um, so we got to do that, pick the release date, and then he's like, I want to do a music video, which I was like, this is crazy. So he flew to Nashville, um, and we had like a little outdoor country style party, and in an interesting way, we kind of did it like goofy, but also like all these people from different walks of life were kind of together, like in this country music vibe party. And yeah, I got to meet Akon and hang out with him for, I don't know, I think it was like 12 hours that day. And um, it's interesting to think of like what kid me thought of him to like who he is. He's such a great guy, and it was really really cool. So
He's a brilliant businessman.
he is, yeah, and just like actually a great, like for me, and like in my own opinion, like such a great person. Like I think it was like a month ago, not even 3 weeks ago, I'll get like a text from him randomly. It was like, just checking in on you. What's going on? What's new? We got to get together. And it's very different than other experiences, I guess would be to say.
All right, so we've been talking about Akon, one of my favorite Akon songs, "Locked Up." So
Yeah.
your phone rings on a Friday night, and you're thinking maybe you should go out, and you turn over to see who's calling you on the phone. Whose name is on your phone, and you go, "Uh-oh, I got a real shot of getting locked up tonight if I go out with this person."
Probably Mason Thornley, the guy I write with. He's still, I still worry about him. I'm like trying to get my shit together more or less, and I feel like I've been doing a good job the last say 6 months. But he's still the guy. He's sending me videos the other day. It was like 5:14 a.m. He's just like up doing stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing? So probably Mason, and just like a lot of the original people that I met in town. I mean, I met them going out and partying, so it was like some of them are still ripping it and doing it.
So you got a scholarship at Western. You're out there playing sports, now turned country star. So when you become the captain for the big Nashville charity softball game, who are you going to pick to put on your team?
The best baseball player, because I'm terrible at baseball. I'm better at football, but I would probably pick like Riley. I know Riley's a great baseball player. Megan Patrick, good friend. I'd definitely throw her on there. Mitchell's awesome too. Tucker, I'm sure is pretty good at sports overall. He's got the football background too. So people like that are athletic.
Who do you think is who do you think's really bad, but you're going to give them a token invite to be able to join your team because you don't want them left out?
Jeez, I don't even know. I feel like I don't know if Luke Bryan could play baseball or not.
That's a good one. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'll give Luke a token of just like I think he'd figure it out, but he's probably like me, where it's like I would just bunt the ball and run as fast as I can. That's like my use speed to advantage because me swinging that thing. I don't know.
Man, I feel like a lot of your life over the last couple of years, when you've been kind enough to come into Sacramento and do golf and guitars, you've spent a lot of time on tour buses and traveling. And people always see these massive tour buses and they think life is phenomenal and that you're living your best life ever.
Yeah.
What would you tell people about what life is really like out on the road and traveling on those buses?
I mean, I can say that 8 out of 10 people I bring, they're like, "There's no way I could ever do this." Um, and I mean, it is like there's parts of it that are so cool, and we get to travel. It's nice when it's daytime and you actually get to see the scenery. A lot of times, it's like finish the show, get in your bunk or get in the back, go to sleep, and you wake up and you're in the next spot, and you don't really get to see. You see the inside of arenas or clubs and stuff like that, but it's the bus holds 12 people, and we have right now we got 11 on it. So there's 11
Wow.
people on a bus living, and yeah, it's just I mean it's long nights and hours. It's like it's different. Some of the guys don't wake up till 11, 12, 1. They don't go to bed till 2, and it's a different lifestyle. It's fun. It's a camaraderie. Like in a way, it kind of feels like I'm on a sports team. There'll be a night for no reason that we're just like driving for 12 hours back to Nashville, and next thing you know, we're up the entire ride for 12 hours, and we just stay up and we're like partying just as like a team, I guess would be the best way to say it. And so there's that's very, very cool. But it's an interesting lifestyle. There's no like the root for me finding the routine's been the hardest thing. Like being like dedicated, getting up and going to the gym after like shows and having late nights and eating healthy. It's very easy to like guys want to stop at fast food or truck stop on the road. So like trying to food prep a little bit and have proper food and stuff like that.
Now that you're in that zone of sorts and now out on the road and you're talking about all of these things you're doing to better yourself, what would you say has been like one or two of your pinch me moments where you've looked back and went, wow, this really happened to me in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way. I mean, I just had one recently. I got to play the Ryman. I think it was for the third time, first time doing it full band. So it was like the Opry take over at the Ryman. I think it was like top of January, and I finally got to meet Steve Earle, which was like
Wow.
the last. I mean, like I'm a huge George Strait and Alan Jackson fan, all that kind of stuff. But like again, Steve Earle was my country music, and I got to meet him, which was super cool. And that was definitely like to be so honest, like I don't get starstruck at all. Like I'm not one of those people. Like I think of everybody's very much human. I'm very much a regular guy that likes to do regular things. And Steve Earle was like probably one of the first or few times I was like actually nervous to talk to somebody. And I think it's just like my whole like he's the reason why I love country music. So it was just that was really cool. That was a pinch me moment. I think just like some of the traveling opportunities, like getting to go to like Australia and London, we got to play the Royal Albert Hall, and just like venues that you hear that the greats have played, and you get the opportunity to play in these places, and you watch documentaries and see videos and footage of and the next thing you know, it's you on that stage. So yeah, those would be like some of the ones. I mean, it's definitely certain songwriters, stuff like that too. So it's really
2026 has been off to an amazing start for you, Bar and Back out now. What else does 2026 have in store for all of us that are big Josh Ross fans?
Yeah, I mean, just I'm pushing for a lot of music this year. I was really grateful. I got to put the album out. The album's still, doing really well. And not that I always like to like keep going, but I've just been writing a lot. I feel like I had a lot of good time over this holiday break and coming into 26 to just put down a lot of like feelings and stuff that I kept away for a while, and inspiration for certain songs. And yeah, I got probably about 6 to 8 right now that I know are ready to go, and I would expect them to come out sooner than later and just kind of keep going. So yeah, really looking forward to new music would be my number one thing, and then just the shows. We got I think about 100 shows this year already on the calendar. So that's my favorite thing is being in front of people and giving back what music does to me. So it's pretty cool.
You talk about 6 to 8 songs ready to go. How do you decide which ones you're doing or which ones end up going to somebody else? Somebody with a big name, you know it's going to go to number one if so-and-so does it. But how do you balance that from going, no, this one's mine and special to me?
Yeah, I think the ones that are super personal and it's like a live situation that was, you know, that I would have a hard time hearing somebody else sing it. I would have to keep that for myself. I am trying to get better at the keeping everything that I write for myself scenario, because there's nothing wrong with somebody else having a song versus it just sitting in my pile of 200 plus songs. So it's definitely getting better at that. But yeah, it's, the ones that feel like lived experiences, I want to put stuff out that's like I'm in this place right now, or I've been in this place recently. And again, it's just like I feel like this is a new season of my life of like trying to get my shit together, and I've learned a lot over the last, say, 3 years since I really started releasing music. And yeah, I'm just really excited to show you guys what's coming this year. So
We can't wait, man. Josh Ross on Backroads and Backstories. Really appreciate you taking time to drop by. Make sure you like the podcast below. Make sure you subscribe to get more. Appreciate it, man, and good luck. And we look forward to seeing you in Sac soon.
yes, sir. Boss. Thank you.